Turning now to Southeast Asia, earlier this week, Filipinos took part in the Million People March, protesting congressional fraud amounting to more than $2 billion. Wearing pig masks and carrying signs, demonstrators called for an end to a decades-old pork barrel system, a budget loophole allowing legislators to direct tax dollars to their community-based programs. The biggest problem? Those pet projects never existed, and now all of that public money is missing.
Thank God for Facebook. We're all here because of that invite that spread like viral all over the net.
The protesters called for an investigation into allegations that lawmakers were feeding tax money into fake NGOs in a scheme believed to have been masterminded mainly by this businesswoman, Janet Lim Napolis. Napolis drew even more outrage and criticism when evidence of her daughter Jeannie's lavish lifestyle in California surfaced on YouTube and Instagram. Janet Napolis is now in custody and will face questioning by a government commission which began its probe into the pork barrel scams on Tuesday. And now, turning to India, the country is going to provide cheap food to more than 65% of the population. It's called the Food Security Bill. It guarantees each recipient about 11 pounds of grain a month, rice wheat, and other cereals at very low prices. About 800 million poor people are eligible. The ruling coalition and some economists say the program will go a long way toward ending hunger and malnutrition in India. Some surveys say India has the second highest percentage of malnourished children in the world. The food security law is also expected to help the ruling party win votes in next year's general elections. But can India afford the program? The government says it will cost about $20 billion a year. Others, including an agency of India's Department of Agriculture, put the cost at about $40 billion. To help us answer that and other questions, we have economist and journalist Vivek Kaul from Mumbai, India's business capital. You wrote that the food security bill is one of India's greatest ever economic errors because the country can't afford it. Why not?
Well, if you just do some simple basic math, you will realize that if you use the government's estimate of what the food security bill would cost during the course of a particular year, it comes to around 11% of the government receipts, which is a huge number. Now, if you look at one more estimate that has been made by the Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices, which is a division of the Ministry of Agriculture of the Government of India, that estimate is around double the government estimate, and it puts the cost of the food security bill to around 20%, 21% of the government receipts. Now, this is a huge cost. So where is this money going to come from? That's typically what will happen is that the government will borrow this money. And when the government borrows, obviously it leads to crowding out, higher interest rates, which in turn leads to a further slowdown in the economy, so on and so forth.
But isn't the social cost of having hundreds of millions of people going hungry so pressing that food security is a priority? That makes me think about the food stamp program, for example, in the U.S., which clearly helps a lot of people.
As far as the concept of right to food security goes, you cannot, as a human being, be against it. But what I have specifically a problem against is the fact that 67% of the population has been targeted for food security. In 1983, around 15% of India used to go hungry. This number came down to around 0.4% for urban India in 2009-2010 and around 1% for rural India in 2009-2010. So the point is, as per government data, less than 1% of the population is going hungry. I mean, even 5% of the population is going hungry. Now, doesn't it make more sense to target that 5% specifically rather than offer, what you Americans call a boondoggle to around two-thirds of the Indian population?
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your perspective.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Vivek Kaul writes on economics for a number of Indian publications. Learn more about him on our experts page.
U.S. airwaves, a global channel of uncompromising stories. World news, documentaries, entertainment, and culture. Link TV, connecting you to the world. For more information, visit linktv.org.